Okay, I'm looking at my clock here and it is exactly noontime. Thank you all very much. We're still waiting for participants to join. But I would like to welcome those of you who are early and here to this webinar in our series of Rethinking Work. And today's topic should be at the top of everyone's agenda, and that is the era of AI and how it's going to, and it's already transforming our profession. Every profession today is exploring what these new technologies mean to them specifically, as well as to the entire workforce. And today we invited one of our own faculty, Rajamma Krishnamurthy, who is the Senior Director of Enterprise AI Strategy at Microsoft. Rajamma is also teaching in our Human Capital Analytics and Technology program. And those of you who are students here are really, really fortunate to have Rajamma as your instructor. Just a couple of words about Rajamma's background. She's got more than 22 years of experience in HR technology, and 22 years in HR technology is a lifetime. It's a whole century. It's like a dog years translated into technology. So she's currently working on vision and strategy of leveraging AI in enterprise scenarios. She's also a member of mentoring boards and advisor to investment organizations focusing on startups in HR tech and AI. And she's going to give us some comfort, I hope, Rajamma, as well as really solid direction and how we need to understand what is happening in our own profession. Just a couple of things about how we are going to manage this. I would encourage all of you here to put your questions in the Q&A section on your Zoom screens. And we will make sure that at the end of Rajamma's presentation, we are going to have a vibrant discussion on these topics. It obviously will depend on how smart and how pertinent your questions are. So please put your questions in there. And the other thing I want to tell you is that this will be recorded and therefore available to you in replay. And I hope that we are all going to learn a whole ton. Rajamma, please take it away.
Thank you very much, Anna. It is a pleasure and a privilege and a great opportunity to talk about my favorite subject. Let me share my screen here. Give me a second while I do that. So today I'm going to talk about AI, but in different parts. First, I will introduce you to AI, a little bit of the history. I don't think that AI started when ChatGPT started, so we will talk about that a little bit. Then we will go into how HR and AI are coming together today, both in opportunities and products. And then I will actually show you a quick demo on how AI could be used in HR. And then we will talk about the most important part of it all, the responsible AI. So keep those questions coming, and I'll try to make sure that there is some time at the very end for us to have the conversation. So starting, the future of work may not be dystopian, but AI is certainly going to disrupt it. If you have read the World Economic Forum's Future of Jobs Report 2023 that was released recently, it assesses the impact of macro trends as well as technological changes on jobs and skills over the next 5 years. And interestingly, that the report finds that nearly a quarter of all the jobs, 23% globally, will change in the next 5 years. Across 45 countries, covering about 680 million workers and 69 million new jobs are expected to be created. 83 million are to be eliminated. So there is a net decrease of 14 million jobs, or 2% over the current employment. The same report also identified that 44% of individual skills will need to be changed or upskilled. There's a great deal of interest in AI, how it's going to disrupt, displace our work in ways that we couldn't have imagined over 10 years ago. Global spending on AI is expected to exceed over $154 billion in 2023. And it's going to surpass about 300 billion by 2026. So there is a lot of jobs, there's a lot of money that's going to be in play here. So I will start with some little bit about the AI history. AI is a broad term. It'll cover a lot of different models. It may seem as if we are entering a new era in AI, but there were several momentous milestones in the field that have brought us to this place. In 1950, Alan Turing invented the Turing test to determine if the computer could pass for a human in a written linguistic fluency, as early as 1950. Arthur Samuel from IBM coined the term machine learning in 1959. However, its origins are rooted in the theories of artificial intelligence. In 2006, Hinton from University of Toronto invented the fast learning algorithms and came up with the term deep learning to explain how AI based on ML can learn like a human. However, the concept of deep learning existed far earlier. Woodrow and Hoff introduced the whole idea of neural network to reduce noise in phone lines in the late 1950s. And then the GAN, or the Generative Adversarial Network, was introduced in 2014. GAN was created by Ian Goodfellow. With GAN, two neural networks play against each other in a game. It's like two brains coming together. The goal of the game was for one network to initiate photo and trick its opponent to believing that it's real. And the opponent, of course, is looking for flaws. The game is played until the near perfect photo tricks the opponent. So this has been like going on for more than like now 75 years. So where are we now? Let's kind of take a peep into the glossary here. We've all heard language models, neural network, deep learning, machine learning. I'm going to take 30 seconds or so, just kind of familiarizing with these words and nouns that we have seen so far. Now, language models are a type of machine learning model. They're trained to conduct a probability distribution over words. So basically, it's similar to how humans learn how to talk. This based on the probability of what word comes after what will determine how words are put together in a language. Basically, that's what the language model is. And as you probably guessed, large language models are that uses the latest technologies, but also uses neural networks and deep learning to and look at vast amounts of data to figure out the probability and so on. So they get it far better in terms of how language can be put together. And there are multiple large language models developed. You all are familiar with ChatGPT, GPT-3, GPT-4, and anyone has been paying attention to the news, there is GPT-4 Turbo as late as like this week. Llama is from Meta, Palm 2 from Google. So there are so many different large language models being developed today. And these are models that can understand language and can generate text. Neural network is basically an algorithm that mimics the human brain, which with individual units called neurons, similar to human brain, and it takes different inputs to generate an output. Neural networks are used for a range of applications, including image recognition, speech recognition, and medical diagnosis, and so on. Deep learning neural network is just the say was what it says. Basically, it looks at increasing the number of layers and interconnections, needing large capacities, or GPUs as we call them, to compute and understand the world. And they have been used in many products and services today, like voice enabled TV remotes, even, or credit card fraud detection, and other emerging technologies such as self-driving cars. So let's move on from the glossary to our world a little bit. The most exciting thing about AI is not the technology itself, but what we can do with it when we apply to real world problems and help people. Bridging this digital divide through AI, machine learning, and other emerging technologies will help everyone benefit from the digital revolution, regardless of who they are, where they live. And this is something that every one of us can appreciate. So I'm kind of moving from AI glossary to current challenges. So current challenges, not in the entire world, but current challenges as we relate to it in human resources and employee experiences and so on. A few months ago, Microsoft's Work Trend Index, and you can find this the links if you Bing or Google for it. A periodic study of worker behavior and sentiment globally across many industries released a special research report that provides fresh and compelling new evidence that employee engagement in a business development or a business success is very, very essential. This study, conducted by the Microsoft's people science team, spanned over 200 public companies with over 3 million employees or so. We examined how the employee engagement score correlate with the financial performance over the past year, and what we found was striking and not quite unexpected. As you can see, the companies with the most engaged employees performed twice as well in terms of financially than those with low engaged employees. So what does this even mean? What's emerging is that the employee engagement is a key element of new performance equation emerging in the age of AI. To achieve the high performance that moves the bottom line, we need more than just productivity. Productivity and engagement are not two opposing forces. They are mutually reinforcing and one multiplying the other. When you're engaged in your work, you're more productive, and when you're more productive, you're more engaged in your work. So how do we make AI our tool to enrich both your productivity and engagement? If you can use AI to help employees be more productive, get rid of mundane tasks, get problem solved very quickly, and to be engaged, keep them energized in terms of learning, in opportunities to help them think about well-being both at work and in life, that would actually will be a game changer when it comes to employee engagement and the bottom line of the companies. Moving on, where does AI fit into the employee life cycle from hire to retire? And how does it really help enrich the experiences of personas across an organization? And when I say personas, I mean these people: the employee who performs their job, contributing to their department objectives and company's overall mission; the manager who oversees the department and setting the goals and providing guidance and ensuring productivity; and HR whose functions include recruitment, onboarding, benefit administration, and maintaining employee records, ensuring smooth personal operations within the company; and a business leader that is like skip levels of managers who oversees pretty much the growth of the company from all aspects of both employees as well as the business bottom lines. So let's examine the life as it goes through the end-to-end here and how AI can be used with these different personas. So I'm going to stay on this slide for a few minutes here, and I actually talk you through how we can infuse AI into various aspects of the life cycle. In planning, you will see, we'll start from planning all the way till alumni. So AI can be brought in everywhere. And in between there is hiring, onboarding, growing, forming communities, being in the office, being at home working, still kind of being part of a growing community within the workplace and so on. So how does it all come together, and how do we make sure that AI can be a companion in all of this journey? So let's start with planning. Imagine a place where, based on the skills that is needed now and for the future, AI is able to suggest to both the business leader or the manager or the human resources person that is actually planning the workforce, with data not only from internally from the company, but also from external sources to inform what is needed. So for example, if your companies are starting to look at AI right now, so imagine if they can suggest how many people you would need in this space, what kind of skill sets you would need to have, make sure that they have, how can you grow those skill sets within the company? All of those can be suggested by AI. AI can also help you create the job descriptions for whether it is jobs or gigs or projects that you want to post, so that you can bring in the right skills candidates. For a candidate, imagine if for HR, it can actually help them source the candidate through campaign creation, event management, sending emails. All of those can be helped through language models. And then for an employee or a candidate to be able to have a validated persona that they can use to apply for jobs, to be able to have recommended jobs for a candidate, for the recruiter to be able to have recommendations based on the job descriptions, the project descriptions versus the candidates' resumes that could have multiple pieces of information. So you are able to now take a vast number of candidates and run them through your system and see which candidates will be the most closely related to the jobs that I'm posting. And this is more than just looking at the data of what skills you have. It could be what skills you have, what education you have, what experience you have, where you could be a potential, not just looking at your credentials at any given time. So imagine the richness of such compute with such a vast amount of data, but also bringing in the candidates without any bias, based on facts alone. Then looking at screening and selection, obviously screening candidates to conversational AI to be able to move them up in the hiring ladder to the interview side. And then the next phase of a hiring process will be the interviews, having managers having suggested interview questions based on the job and the experience that you're asking for, and then summarizing the interview feedback, responding back to the candidate with information, and having the interviewer having some tips for the future. And then offer an onboarding, automations everywhere, onboarding, having a guided, personalized onboarding through the completion of tasks, communications, through background verification, through immigration, through paperwork, all of that done with a whole lot of assistance without having to have all the time humans in the loop. And of course, giving the hiring manager guidance on onboarding, constantly feeding them information on what sentiments the onboarding employee is feeling. Are they feeling like they are part of the organization, or do they need additional help in terms of being onboarded? So kind of connecting the sentiments of where the onboarder is to what else the company should do to make sure that the employee is engaged. Then let us imagine that this employee has been here for a year, and they are trying to finish their performance review. And how about, instead of the employee writing it down completely from scratch, having the system kind of collate that information based on all the work that they have done, all the feedback that they have received, and all the conversations that they have had. And similarly for the manager, a summary based on the feedback that they've received, and so on. So it's a starting point. Obviously, these are all virtual assistants that will help you kind of move forward. See, all the things that we used to do by looking at our emails and our meetings to make sure that we have accounted for everything in our employee reviews can now be done through done much more easily with the summary that the assistant can provide you. Then, of course, the employee is looking for growing within the company, for learning, recommendations for learning, connecting with the other experts and mentors based on their career aspirations. And then when you complete learning, updating your digital persona, all that getting constantly updated without you having to do that. So imagine a place where you are completing a project on AI. So there are inferred skills that you can identify, knowing that, oh, I have worked in AI, so that obviously I must know something about AI, and that AI as a skill is added to my profile. So immediately now I don't have to go back and do it manually. But once it is added, all I do is validate. Yes, I did learn AI. What part of AI did I learn? Large language models, or going deeper on AI as to what exactly things that I want to add to my profile. You can do it, but the system can also suggest for you. Similarly, within the organization, connections for voluntary organizations and charity and other things that you would be interested in, those connections and recommendations based on your interests. Growing for a manager, having the team growing, having personalized coaching about how to grow the teams, to be able to create employee pulses, or asking questions to kind of get a feel for how people are doing. Once the pulse results comes back, to be able to analyze that results and give you some coaching moments for any team leader to be able to do better. And then for the employee, again, in terms of well-being and recommendation on benefits, not just on employee well-being in both work and life. Have you looked at this benefits? Yeah, I don't see you have availed yourselves of the benefits of fitness, or here is a benefit from the company where you can actually take a break and do meditation, or you have been at your work for too long, here is a break, or you have been working till late in the night, or don't send emails after 7 in the evening so that it doesn't force your employees to respond back. Things like that are easy to do, but we don't think. But having that personal assistant constantly helping you be a better employee, a better manager, and a just bit better in life will be so much more rewarding. Of all the things that I spoke about, offboarding, I mean, people do come into work and they do leave and go to other opportunities to learn and grow. And so those offboarding moments are as important as the onboarding moments. Transitioning to a different role within the company or outside the company needs to be handled with care and respect. And having these virtual assistants kind of be that personalized and guided on offboarding could help you win the candidate back when they decide to come back to your company. And of course, an alumni is your brand representative. So you want to make sure that these people are constantly connected to you, so that they either are continuing to use your products or propagating your products, or one day decide to come back and work with you again, because these talent are very important to you, especially today where there is such a dearth of talent. So you can see that AI and ML can be used everywhere in your employee life cycle, but especially the large language models can be used in content generations, in conversational user interfaces, in in knowledge discovery, and in prediction and forecasting, and so on. And the AI and ML models can be used in recommendations and in planning and optimization, and so on. So what are the different categories of AI solutions that are in the market today? I like this picture from Josh Bersin that I came across a few days ago. The emerging models, which are mostly HR applications, most HR applications fall into this category. They are using data and analytics to predict. Sometimes they can also use generative AI to create content, such as an LLM that will be used to create a job description. This is where the AI is added on to the application. Then there is the first generation models where AI is built in. Here, the algorithms that are used to, say, recommend courses or to employees based on their roles, they all fall into the AI built in. So they are built into the various features within the application. Now, the second generation are where these are born in AI companies, similar to how we have heard about born in cloud companies, with AI being at the very core of everything that is happening in these systems. These applications have vast access to vast amount of data and have built algorithms with the intelligence to understand and predict behavior, such as using data and companies like Eightfold, Gloat are some of those companies. Most of these solutions we have seen are fall into talent management, talent intelligence, talent acquisitions area. And just kind of continuing talking about what does the HR AI industry landscape really looks like today. What I have seen and what we have seen is there are almost three areas. One is all of these conversational AI bots, which is growing every day, which is basically saying employees feel free to ask the question, get the answer, complete your work right there, so you don't have to have an agent kind of answering those questions and working with you. So this is more about questions and answers and simple tasks that they can complete on their own. Then you have these single point solutions which are mostly in the areas of talent, where it's planning, sourcing, hiring, onboarding, internal talent marketplace, and so on. So in the conversational AI bots, you have companies like ServiceNow, Moveworks, AI Sarah. Now SAP SuccessFactors and Workday are also imbibing the AI into many of the transactional work that they're doing. And then in single point solutions, you have companies I stated earlier, Avature, Beamery, Degreed, Skyhive, Eightfold, and so on. The platforms and data companies like SuccessFactors and others, employee relationship management companies and so on, or even document management companies, have also started bringing in AI into many of the work that they do. In robotic process automations, in content creation, and so on. I'm going to take a diversion here and kind of hone down on one area, which has been at the very heart of everything that we do in human resources, which is employee experience. And this is one place where AI is the most beneficial. What if all of your questions get answered just in time in natural language, and one is able to get tasks done easily just in time and no need to remember multiple destinations? That utopia can be achieved with AI. Think of this complete paradigm shift. I'm going to jump into not a product, but a demo, a hack that we did at Microsoft, so that you can see how conversational AI can actually get all of this done just in time. And this is an example about an onboarding employee to begin with, and you can watch it. Let me see if I can play it, and you can actually hear the sound.
Rajamma, we can't hear it.
Okay, hang on just a second. Is there a thing that I have to do to the sound?
Yes, you have to enable through Zoom. Look at your microphone.
Hang on, let me just see that. And which
Rajamma, you might have to stop sharing.
okay, sorry, let me do that.
Okay. And then when you click share screen, there'll be a little box that says share sound or share audio. Try that.
Yeah, doing it. Thank you. Give me a second here. You're able to see my full screen, right?
Yes.
Okay.
The Microsoft Employee Copilot uses AI and enterprise systems and data to give employees meaningful answers, automate routine tasks and workflows, and empower employees to make informed decisions. Danielle's start date is fast approaching. The Employee Copilot recognizes some missing profile items and prompts Danielle for preferred name and pronouns. Next, Copilot offers recommendations and assistance for choosing the right benefits based on location, personal data, and benefits documentation. What formerly took days is accomplished in a few conversations. Later, Employee Copilot ranks the top devices for Danielle based on info such as discipline, policy, and other designer selections and rating. This otherwise would be a daunting task as there's hundreds of options. Employee Copilot is at hand noticing how to help Danielle throughout the first day. Using available info from the profile, system, and organizational data, Copilot can even propose Danielle's first exciting networking opportunity. And also connect Danielle with potential project partners, finding open time slots for all and directly scheduling the meet and greets. Recognizing Danielle's previously expressed need for community, Copilot initiates a quick conversation and then connects Danielle with fellow beekeepers using its knowledge of all communities and resource groups. Employee Copilot gleans from the expense system that Danielle is about to miss an expense report deadline. Danielle uploaded the receipt but got distracted. Copilot reminds Danielle and guides them through the process in just 2 steps. Danielle has been out for a couple of weeks and now can't access the critical file. Copilot quickly utilizes enterprise data, determining how the problem was solved for other employees and provides a customized solution. Using all the tactical data Copilot can access, including enterprise systems such as legal and HR, Copilot reminds Danielle that they need to renew their work visa and helpfully guides them through the process, providing predictive inputs and automating an otherwise laborious process. It's Danielle's first trip to the worksite, and Copilot knows they'll need a parking pass and just-in-time guidance getting around, including finding a spot to lunch with their manager and booking the time. Prior to meeting their manager, Danielle worked with Copilot to generate their performance appraisal, which pulled info from across internal systems and Microsoft products. By compiling Danielle's writing samples from internal data, communications, and documents, Copilot offered to write everything in Danielle's authentic voice. No robot speak. Their first year has flown by. The Employee Copilot asked Danielle if they like a retrospective of the people, projects, and wins along with upcoming opportunities. Danielle excitedly shares it with their team. Every day, Microsoft Employee Copilot proactively gives comprehensive answers, automates business tasks, and provides personalized recommendations.
All right. Hope you enjoyed watching that. Again, this is not a product. So this is something that we put together for a hack that we had and as a demo to illustrate how you can use AI and especially the large language models to enrich employee experience. So how are these AI systems different from the traditional systems? Whereas the traditional software applications created data, AI applications actually start there. More data, the better. The accuracy of predictions increase with lot more data, but more importantly, the right kind of data. We all know the infamous Amazon recruitment software glitch where that trained itself on the fact that men were preferable and penalized resumes that actually contained the word women. If the data is biased or skewed, AI will accurately produce a biased result. And LLMs can also find inaccurate data, causing systems to hallucinate, or these risks are why it is so important to focus on safety, which is ethics, bias reduction, and explainability of models. So I'll talk about the responsible AI next. I'm going to introduce you to Microsoft's principles on how we deal with responsible AI. Microsoft has outlined about 6 key principles for responsible AI: accountability, inclusiveness, reliability and safety, fairness, transparency, and privacy and security. These principles are essential to creating a responsible and trustworthy AI as it moves into mainstream products and services. They are guided by two perspectives, ethical and explainable. From an ethical perspective, AI should be fair and inclusive in its assertions, ensure that all people have similar opportunities and they are not denied based on any demographic. So imagine equal access to healthcare, equal access to housing or education and so on. And not discriminate or hinder different races and or disabilities or backgrounds. I'll have to talk to you about just a couple of weeks ago, I was in an airport. They have introduced this new system of you actually walk into the plane without the boarding pass. You can do the facial recognition and it allows you into the plane. There was a person standing right before me, was darker tone than me in terms of the color, and the facial recognition could not even recognize them, that they were standing there. So that kind of discrimination should not happen when it comes to inclusiveness. Obviously, we all need to be accountable for the decisions that the AI is making, the people that are creating these applications or using these applications for that matter, not the end user, but implementing these applications as enterprises. From an explainability perspective, transparency is one of the main areas. One should be aware of the data and algorithms that are used to train the model, the transformation logic applied on the data, and many other things that are related to AI systems in particular, in general. So whatever you can share with the end user in terms of the transparency is an important part of how AI should be shared and used. Privacy and security is table stakes. The data holder is obligated to protect the data. The application creator, implementer is obligated to protect the data in the AI system. Last but not the least, both the perspectives and ethics and both the perspectives of ethics and explainability go hand in hand in the areas of reliability and safety. Excuse me. For all AI systems to be trusted, they need to be reliable and safe. It's important for a system to perform as it was originally designed and respond to safely to any new situations. It should inherently resist any deliberate or unintentional manipulations that should bring about any harm to people or properties. When it comes to safety, I think you all will immediately think of the self-driving cars. They are an easy examples to think about. Now, the numbers that you see next to these principles are the number of goals laid out for each area. So there are a total number of 17 goals that we focus on when it comes to our AI or responsible AI within Microsoft. I'm going to take one more minute on the AI as to how we actually get that done. As soon as somebody comes up with a project on our AI, using AI, we ask them to come to the table by completing an impact assessment document. That impact assessment document covers all the 17 goals of our AI that I just spoke about. And in it, we talk about why are you using AI, where will it be used, what harms you could cause, what data you're using, what models you're using, how have you, made sure that there is no bias in the data that you're using, to test the bias in the data that you're using, to the outcomes of that model, and how are you ensuring that you're going to continuously monitor. So all of those questions are asked at the very beginning of when somebody comes up with a project. Then we go into as soon as they start designing the user interface and so on, we ask them, how are you ensuring that the information is going to be shared with the end user? For example, if there is a model that is just recommending jobs to a candidate, we ask them, how are you sharing that this is AI, and what AI is using to compare objects? So for example, in this case, we can use the job description to all the jobs that were available in the company. What parts of those were you comparing in order to provide the recommendations? And in that, the end user can opt in to use the recommendations or opt out and do their own searches using keywords and such like. So to be able to be transparent and to be explain what models you're using. And then, of course, how you're ensuring that your data is private and that you will not be taking this data and using it for any kind of model training and other things. So those things should be very clear in the user interface. So we make sure that those things are added. Last but not the least, we need to have the user be able to make sure that they can give feedback on the outcomes that they're seeing. So if the recommendations are great or bad, and if they're bad, why they think that they're bad. So all of those things are part of how you implement RAI in every aspect of your systems creation. Last but not the least is something that we do is how do you monitor? So constantly monitor for language bias or bias in outcomes, and ensure that whatever we have designed is inclusive, fair, explainable, and is taking care of your data safely and securely. One more slide here, and I will be almost done. So when you bring in people from outside, when you bring in vendors, the questions to ask are these. Data, what kind of data that you're using to train the models? How you have in your training data, do you have representation across all the groups? In terms of transparency that I spoke about earlier, which is how are you ensuring that you can explain or be transparent about how you're using AI? And do you have audits that you run? Are you familiar with the regulations such as the New York 144? And do you have third party run those audits and so on? So there are a whole bunch of questions that you can ask the vendors in order to make sure that you're bringing the AI into your organization safely and securely and doing all the right things. There is a whole lot of websites that you can go to get access to more information and get educated. I will be sending this slide deck along with the record. We'll be sending the slide deck along with the recording, and you can have access to these URLs. Lastly, where can you start? One of the things that you can do is in an enterprise is to establish an AI center of excellence. Bring people that are of a similar mindset, bring people of varied levels of both education in AI, but also varied levels of disciplines. So bring in software engineers, anthropologists, data science specialists, user experience folks, and so on, and bring them together to kind of start thinking about AI, where all AI should be implemented and brought in very safely and securely in the company. Data is currency, so make sure that the data is ready, and of course, education of everybody. So bring upskilling the organization in terms of how do you ensure that all parts of your organization, similar to how HR got ready with data, got familiar with data and analytics, AI is that next step. Now we have to kind of bring everybody into the fold of AI by educating everybody. And then start small. Start in where you find there will be the least impact on human beings, like job day, for job description creation, or creating campaign notes, or pulses, or or within a small group of people, so that you can start testing and getting your feet wet on how AI can help in your spaces. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rajamma. And for those of you who are still have those 10 minutes left, maybe you can help us answer some of the questions. That the first one I would like to ask: what's your overall kind of projection for what kinds of HR jobs are going to show up and will be new, and what we need to be prepared for in our specific field, in our specific profession?
First of all, I think HR should be at the table on any decisions that we are making about what AI that you're going to bring into the enterprise, because anything that you bring into the enterprise will be affecting human beings. And so we'll need to kind of figure out, so HR should be absolutely at the table, which means that HR should start educating themselves on what that could be, what implications and impact there could be. HR's jobs will not be replaced, but some parts of jobs will be added. You will need to kind of start learning how to work with AI systems, how to prompt the right questions so that you can get the right answers, and so on. So that is the kind of learning and upskilling that the HR needs to do at this point.
Thank you so much. One question, and I think you partially addressed it, is around from Greg here about regulation. What should we expect, and what is the position that your organization is taking on self-monitoring, maybe, while still waiting for a more coherent kind of regulation that might come out centrally? And how does it scale across different countries, different regions of the world, since Microsoft is operating in all of those globally?
Right now, I think AI is running a lot on trust, less on regulations. The attempt that was done recently in terms of the self-monitoring that was signed by a few companies along with our president was all in that attempt to kind of become the self-regulating body. We need regulations, and how do we do that? We have started seeing some regulations come in. The New York 144 is one. Washington, California have been doing some. EU has been working on a regulatory act that is going to be coming in the next year or two, I think. And but all of these will take time in terms of understanding how to first of all, what the regulation shall be, how far they can regulate, and how to actually implement those regulations is going to be tough across the universe. So, but mostly the onus will depend on both the companies that are creating AI software as well as the companies that are going to implement it. So there needs to be open, transparent communication and trust amongst them to make sure that together they're not causing more harm than good with AI.
Excellent. Thank you so much for this guidance. Another question, obviously, we have a lot of students here in the room. Questions around career aspirations for employees. Will there be some, role for employees themselves to play, or will there be complete reliance on the recommendations done by these AI systems?
No, absolutely. The human in the loop is not going to be moved out. The work, I see all of these AI as the virtual assistants that we all were wishing for. And this is going to be how much work you can get done through these virtual assistants depends on the individual and the ability for them to ask and get those answers and get the work done. Our intuition as human beings and our judgment calls that are absolutely needed throughout human resources, throughout any part of the enterprise, and that shall never go away. We just need to all, similar to, as I said earlier, similar to how we started using data in human resources and made that our friend, we need to start thinking about how to make AI our friend and make our jobs much easier, but much more rewarding and rich, because now you have the time to kind of focus on the things that you were just kind of lost in all of the details that you were, you didn't have time for before.
Right. Obviously, Microsoft is in the front lines of the change. What are you experiencing internally? Is it palpable? Is it really significant that Microsoft is introducing these tools just as aggressively as they're putting the products out there? How is that internal, external dynamic work for your company?
Like everything else, we're very careful. Nothing is being pushed. We are every step that we take, and even internally, is highly scrutinized. As I said, I'm the RAI champion for my space, which means that as part of whatever we bring in AI, we are scrutinizing from the very first question of do we really need AI to how we are using it, what harms could we cause, how are we testing it. Everything is scrutinized highly, and there is no urgency or push, but more kind of how do we adapt it so that we can actually be better. There's certainly a sense of education and excitement, but not any kind of pressure to do something quickly.
Excellent. Thank you. Another question that is kind of interesting, what we usually see, and it's the same with data, the digital, et cetera, these training and skill development is coming in at the mid and entry level positions. How do you see a senior management pivoting to the environment where AI will be the integral part of how organizations are run. What is the role for leadership here?
Multiple. And we're just talking about leadership in general, right? So if we can think about if a sales manager or an HR manager or wherever, you first of all understanding how to use AI to kind of help them from managing their teams, understanding what skills exist in the teams, what do they need, what goals we are setting up for the next 5 years, how do we have all the skills that we can use for the next 5 years, or do we need to upskill? All of that will AI can help in terms of both the education as well as suggestions on what could be done. These management, and then if they're wearing different hats in terms of whether they're a sales manager or a finance manager or other things, how can they can use AI in their own daily jobs as a manager, not just as a manager, but as an individual wearing that hat, and how can they kind of get the most out of AI? And then last but not the least is how can they coach? How can they have those coaching moments that the AI can help with, that can make them a better team manager, and how and make them grow their employees in more ways than they have thought about before. So a virtual assistant at its best in all aspects of what they do in the daily life as a manager.
Yeah, interesting. Thank you. Another question. There are very specific questions here in the feed on, how it's going to transform recruitment, for example. A good question around people with non-traditional backgrounds. One of the concerns about biases built into the recruitment systems and powered by AI is that they're going to be looking for these patterns repeated from previous recruitment cycles, et cetera. So whereas we as a society are moving toward bringing people with non-traditional backgrounds, how can AI help us in that mission of inclusion?
And that is where I spoke about the fact that there is potential versus credential. So then the past patterns have been, do you have the 5-year experience in such a particular job, and so you can do this job because I can see that you have 6 years, and so I can probably bring you into the next rounds of interviews and so on. There's this whole concept of adjacent skills. Every skill that you have 5 other adjacent skills. You have 5 other things that you can grow potentially. So all of this with AI, you're actually able to kind of go understand the data, vast amounts of data, and bring that back and say, this person with this background can actually be a great candidate to work in AI. For example, people who have history degrees or anthropology degrees or things like that were non-traditional in terms of technology can see themselves at the table actually making decisions about how AI systems to be brought into a company, or how AI systems should be helping humanity and so on. So this is what AI does, which is able to kind of look at data in ways that we have never been able to do. And the way we do that is by having the right kind of humans creating this kind of AI. So it is not that AI creates itself, but but not just kind of using patterns of the bad patterns of the past, but actually having a very different mindset when it comes to recruitment and so on. So think about it when you're going to bring those AI models into your own companies, and make sure that you're looking at it from that mindset, and not just what we have done for whatever number of years so far.
Yeah, I think that is very important, so that we could be helped in our mission of bringing, diverse and very kind of distributed skill sets to solutioning for the issues. Because as we all know, being in HR, the majority of us here, the issues are not purely analytical. The issues the majority of issues are actually societal and broader. Rajamma, could you share with us what's going to be your next job?
I love being in the academics. I know you know that, Anna. I've been working with the NYU for some time. I would love to be in some kind of research role, kind of working with academia. I don't know where that will be, but once I when once I kind of hang my this thing here in Microsoft, I think that's where my next would be, because I love teaching and love interacting with students.
You're always welcome to New York, to NYU, and as I mentioned, to some of the your future students are here in the room, and they're going to take full advantage of you, leading them through this really, really exciting time in HR. On this note, I want to thank everyone who attended. I know that some of the questions were not answered here, but feel free to reach out to Rajamma on LinkedIn, to myself as well, with any outstanding questions. And we are going to see you back in the spring semester now. This is our last presentation for Rethinking Work Fall Edition. In the spring, we are planning a really, really exciting program for everyone. So stay tuned and have a wonderful holiday season. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy holidays all.
Thank you all. All right.